Millennials, what is one thing that the rest of us just don't understand? Every time you bash millennials for taking participation ribbons, remember who came up with that stupid idea. Here is a clue, it wasn't us. Not only that, but my dad's got a box full of participation trophies from his baseball youth football days, the late 60s mid 70s. That the average millennial is 30 years old, not a teeny bopper or college kid. Yeah, teens are Gen Z. What comes after Z? Generation Now. I said my ABCs, next time won't you sing with me? Labor jobs are not shameful and you can actually earn good money doing it. Trades are dying because we were told to go to college and then get a desk job because it's better than what mom or dad does now. I make more money now as a 23 years old millennial in a labor job than my parents made combined when I was growing up. But they had a large 2-story house in the burbs when I grew up, and now that I make such good money, they can't fathom how I still can't afford to get my own house or why I still have to drive an old beat up truck rather than have a newer vehicle and park out in a garage of a nice house. Probably because y'all ruined the housing market and economy so bad that making $80,000 a year, I still can barely afford to support my wife, who also works, and son, the freeloading 2 years old that just refuses to get a job. Geez. When we don't really sell ourselves on Microsoft programs in job interviews, it's because that's like asking if we know how to write. We grew up with that. It's not hard. Edit. Just to address the most common response, I understand that Excel is way more than adding functions and has amazing capabilities beyond my comprehension. My comment was more of an attack on jobs that put so much emphasis on Microsoft Office programs, and yet they only require basic functionality. The economy is growing but our paychecks are not. Economists will tell you that wages generally increase with productivity, that you're paid in line with the value of what you do. Related to this, that a $20,000 salary today is not equal to a $20,000 salary decades ago. This is so important. I had a VP laugh when I told them we needed to pay someone $60,000 minimum for a position I was tasked with replacing that had previously been budgeted at $42,000. I had to work with the CFO and fight tooth and nail, and they finally asked our payroll company to estimate the job's value. When it came back $72,000, they immediately approved $60,000 with benefits without question. We had a really awkward situation hiring last year where every applicant for a junior position were requesting $10 to $15,000 more than the manager that was hiring the position. They ultimately had to opt to go with a 22-year-old straight out of college to get the rate. She's a rock star, but that incident kicked off a huge company salary assessment. When people who grew into adulthood in the 2000s and 2010s ignore your economic career advice, it's not because we're snotty or ungrateful or don't value your opinion. It's because the economy is so different that advice which may have been good in the 50s 80s is not likely to still be good. Just walk right in and ask to talk to the CEO and say I want a job. Job security doesn't exist anymore. Constant threat of layoffs in every job I've had, and been the victim of it 3 times since graduation. The investment cycle is incredibly short. Companies invest for the next quarter or 2, and if it doesn't pan out they pull the plug and lay people off. You can't be strategic in most jobs these days. It's very tactical. If you're with a company for 5 years, that's a really long time these days. Edit. In all fairness, I've also had excellent job advancement and pay increases every time I've changed. It's just nice occasionally to know your job company well without constant threat of losing it, especially when your family depends on you. That it's hard, even in my early 30s with a good full-time job, to afford rent and food and everything else. I wish I had been born in a time where working a job like I have now would pay for a 3-bedroom house and 2 cars. No, I'm not lazy. I just don't think I should have to work 2 full-time jobs just to survive. That nearly every place you apply wants you to do it online. No, going in will not help you get your foot in the door. More often than not it's just going to annoy them. Also, super annoying when people don't believe you about this so they go in and ask for an application and are told to apply online. Like, I legit could have told you this would happen. I was at Target, working behind the counter at the customer service desk, saw a guy walk in and insist on applying in person. They found him a physical application and once he left they threw it in the trash. That was one of the managers who did that, by the way. Update. For clarification, he walked in, asked for a physical copy, said he couldn't put in online because he didn't have a computer, the network for the store was down. He was friendly, shook hands, and had decent qualifications. They didn't care. MS Word is not a freaking design program and shouldn't be used as one. Also, PowerPoint is also not a design program. And if you're going to use PowerPoint as a design program, please at least export it as a PDF. Why it is that most of the older generation, and some millennials, can have something called a cell phone in their pocket and decide to never take a minute to fact check something that sounds suspicious. When I was going through school, computers were just starting to become a standard part of education. What we were taught about the internet was to be always cautious. For example, never use your real name, never meet someone from the internet, and to always be suspicious. Never trust a single website. Trace your source to the origin. Find a book to confirm if you can. My mother grew up without the internet at all. She held a programming job where computer time had to be booked a week ahead. Everything she learned growing up was from supposedly trusted individuals, such as teachers. It's still hard to disabuse her of misconceptions taught to her in primary school in a third world country. Now she's a full-on conspiracy theorist, and I can't help but wonder how many people like her are where they are because they grew up without being taught to be skeptical of their sources, because they grew up in time and place where they didn't have to be. That most of us have actually done customer service jobs our whole life, and when people talk about how millennials and the younger generations are all about instant gratification, each and every one of us has vivid memories of old freaking dirtbags throwing goddamn tantrums because they didn't get their way right that very moment. Old people have absolutely no patience for anything. Younger people typically have more manners. Almost every advantage prior generations had has been stripped away. Affordable college, wages that allow you to pay rent and buy food. Other things like retirement security, nope 401ks with fees that chew up your savings or bubbles that wipe it out. Unemployment protections have even become unreliable if you get laid off. And forget going to the dentist regularly, hahaha, good luck maintaining health insurance. Work hard for less and be called a whiner for pointing it out. Millennials are not one homogeneous group. Some are successful, some are struggling. Some are urban, some are rural. Some have college education, some do not. Some live with their parents, some live alone. Some have marriage and kids, some are single. Generalizing an entire generation makes it an us versus them argument that you assume everyone is on one side or the other. Don't fall for this crap. If someone is an entitled little brat, it's not because they're a millennial, it's because they're an entitled little brat. I've met 20-year-olds that are ELBs, and I've met 60-year-olds that are ELBs. It's not a generational thing. Stop projecting societal frustrations on people who happen to be born in a different year than you, and realize that if you accept and address the real issues of societal change, we're all better off. Ever been to a professional sporting event and groaned at the price of admission, concessions, and even water? It's been kind of like living an entire life inside of that stadium. You deserve gold, but this thread is full of millennials and no one's got the cash. The whole just go get a better job put out for a promotion line of thought. A lot of the time we just can't do that, and one particularly annoying part of it is because you are still sitting at the top. In my profession there is very little to no upward movement. The median age for a full-time teacher where I've worked is in the late 50s, early 60s. Nothing against them, as sometimes they can have brilliant ideas, techniques. But it's frustrating to look at the job ladder and see no one going up because people can't get off, and you can't get on. We may very well be the first overeducated generation in the history of this country. Most of us have college degrees, and very sizable portion of us have graduate degrees too. We have these because we basically have to in order to even have the chance of making enough money for a comfortable life as adults. We are a little pissed off because we all grew up being told that if you do okay in high school and go to college, you'll be able to get a job that'll pay you well enough to live the life you want to live. Then, we did those things, and when we got to the other end of it, it was all basically jerked away. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe for more videos and don't forget to like the video if you've enjoyed it.